So my name is Michael Williams. I'm the QC chair, and I'm calling this meeting to order. We will now, excuse me, I have to let's see. Since this is virtual, I have to look at my notes, and now I will to present. The CBA has provided the opportunity for the public to participate via the WebEx platform. When we take public comments, we will begin by taking public comments from those individuals attending the meeting at the CBA headquarters in Sacramento. I will then ask the moderator to open up the lines for public comment. You will be allotted up to 5 minutes for public comment. And now I'll turn this over to the CBA staff to establish a quorum.
Thank you, Chair Williams. Anthony Gonzalez.
Present.
Christopher Smith.
Present.
Jeffrey Moline.
Present.
Renard Chow. Renard Chow.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, thank you. Angela Honzik.
Present.
Jeffrey Baginski.
Present.
Timothy Jones.
Present.
Michael Williams.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The CBA's mission is to protect consumers by ensuring only a qualified licensed practice public only qualified licensees practice public accountancy in accordance with established professional standards. The mission is derived from the statutory requirements that protection of the public shall be the highest priority for the California Board of Accountancy in exercising its licensing, regulatory, and disciplinary functions. Whenever the protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. And I will start with the agenda. But first, let's see, I need to, public comments for items not on the agenda. So, I think I now open it up to public comment, or?
That's correct, Chair Williams. This is Michelle Center. We have no members of the public at the Sacramento location. I will let you know if that changes at any time. So you can go ahead and open it up via the WebEx platform.
Thank you. Moderator, can you open it up to the WebEx platform for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or you may simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is a moderator. I see no request for comment at this time. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. So item number 2 on the agenda, the report of the committee chair. And I would like to introduce newly appointed Qualifications Committee Liaison, Patricia Batchelor, CPA, and our new QC Vice Chair, Jeffrey Moline. Welcome. And thank you for joining us. Next on the agenda, I will look for approval of the October 25th, 2023 QC meeting minutes. And does any member wish to make a motion?
I move to approve minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from our members?
Chair Williams. Chair Williams,
yes.
can I?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
I know we're all transitioning back to doing these virtual meetings. Can I ask that when individuals speak that they introduce themselves so we can make sure that we capture the names involved? We did get the name of the first, I believe was Angela, but we did not capture who made the second.
Member Anthony Gonzalez.
Thank you, Anthony. Yes, it is, going back to virtual is going to be a learning experience again. Okay, so now, are there any questions or comments from our members regarding the minutes? Hearing none, I will ask the moderator to open it up for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 2B, please raise your hand, or you may type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. Again, we are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is a moderator. I see no request for comment. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. And now I will ask for staff to call for the vote.
Jeffrey Baginski,
Approve.
Christopher Smith,
Approve.
Angela Honzik,
Approve.
Anthony Gonzalez,
Approve.
Michael Williams,
Approve.
Jeffrey Moline,
Approve.
Timothy Jones,
Approve.
Renard Chow. Renard Chow,
Abstain.
thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you. Now we will go to agenda item 3, report of the California Board of Accountancy, presented by Liaison Patricia Batchelor.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair Williams and members of the QC. I am CBA member Patricia Batchelor. I will be providing a report for the November 2023 CBA meeting. And this is as follows. At the November meeting, we elected Joseph Rosenbaum, CPA, as president, re-elected as president. We re-elected Yen C. Tu as vice president and elected Kristen Lata, CPA, as secretary treasurer. We also reappointed Michael L. Williams, CPA, to serve as the QC chair and appointed Jeffrey Moline, CPA, as vice chair for 1-year term. Alfonso Alexander, who is president of NASBA's Center for the Public Trust and CPT, provided an update on CPT activities, which included student CPT, chapters, and programming, the Historically Black Colleges and Universities Initiative, and the Student Certification Program through NASBA's Ethical Leadership Certification. We approved regulatory language to eliminate the pre-license requirements of the Professional Ethics Examination, or other term PES exam, for CPAs, and replace it with a requirement that new licensees complete a board-approved regulatory review course at their first CPA license renewal. As a result of the significant health, economic, education, and travel disruptions resulting in CPA exam candidate hardships, coupled with any impacts associated with the launch of a new CPA exam on January 1st, 2024, we adopted a credit relief initiative, which will extend CPA exam credits that expired between January 30th, 2020 and December 31st, 2023 to June 30th, 2025. Staff provided information on a possible pathway for CPA firm owners who are licensed with general accounting experience to gain the experience necessary to convert their license to one with authority to sign reports on attest engagements. This topic will be discussed again in the future once additional information has been gathered. Also, we approved a comment letter to NASBA supporting the proposed revisions of the Uniform Accountancy Act model rules that related to peer review. with a suggestion to modify the language to make it more evergreen. The suggestion to modify the language to make it more evergreen would reduce the need to change state regulations and future information if future information becomes available via the secure website. Are there any questions regarding the CBA meetings held in 2023? Okay, well then the CBA will hold its next meeting in person at the CBA office on January 25th, 2024, which is tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Batchelor. Michelle, do I open it up for questions or comments, or do we go on to the next agenda item?
We need to take public comment on all
Okay.
items, including this one.
Okay, thank you. So, are there any questions or comments from our members for Ms. Batchelor? Hearing none, I will open it. Moderator, please open it for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 3, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment at this time. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator. So we will continue with the report on activities for the initial licensing unit. And 4A is from licensing activity report from Jennifer Huddy.
Thank you, Chair Williams. I'm Jennifer Huddy, manager of the initial licensing unit. This licensing activity report, or LAR, covers July 1st, 2023 through November 30th, 2023. The LAR begins with the reporting of processing times. I'm pleased to report that the processing times remain below 30 days. Now, if you turn your attention to page 2 of the LAR, there were over 55,200 stakeholder inquiries in the form of emails and telephone calls. This is inclusive of CBA calls directed to the DCA call center. On pages 3 and 4, as of November 30th, the examinations unit has approved 3,139 first-time applicants to sit for the CPA exam. The initial licensing unit has approved over 1,280 applications for CPAs and firms. On pages 5 through 7, data related to renewal statistics, renewal deficiencies, and continuing education audits are displayed. Table 7 includes CE audit data. 376 licensees were selected so far for an audit in fiscal year 23-24. Of those, 257 have been found to be compliant. 85 are still in process. That concludes my presentation, and I'll now turn it back over to Chair Williams. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hey,
So I guess I need to unmute myself. I apologize. Thank you, Ms. Huddy. Are there any questions or comments from our members?
hey, Michael, it's Chris Smith. How are you?
Good, good.
Good. I'm not sure what the appropriate protocol is for, do you want us to raise hands or just chime in?
I mean, I think, why don't you go ahead and start with.
Okay, why don't I start? And again, I don't want to, until I learn everything, I don't want to go anywhere. But Jennifer, it was good. I found the stats really interesting. And I know this may feed into some of the discussion around the pipeline and some other things, but just going through the tables, I had just some observations or questions on different things. Like for instance, on table 3, I was looking at the note at the bottom where there's like 300 different applications where there's a deficiency that you spot. And I was just thinking that was about 10% of what gets filed. And just based on what the explanation there is, does the staff look at that and go, well, maybe we can improve like writing the instructions or clarifying things to cut down on the deficiencies? That was one question or observation I would put back to you. If you want to respond now, great, or just take it on.
This is Michelle Center. I'm happy to respond to that. I think that we do look at that statistic, looking at why individuals, applicants, were not approved on their first time application is one of the reasons why we initiated the SURE CPA project, which stands for Students Understanding the Educational Requirements. That's one of the reasons why we did that.
Okay.
So we will be looking at different initiatives and talking about some potential initiatives actually tomorrow at our CPC meeting. So you might want to watch that item if that's of interest to you. Another thing to keep in mind, sometimes there is a delay between when an applicant submits their application and maybe when we receive their transcript, their final transcript, or when we receive their experience form from their supervisor. So this 300-ish number, we also have to take that into consideration. There could just be a timing issue, and it may not be that they're not approvable, but that they just submitted their application prior to us receiving, let's say, their final transcript or their experience form. So I hope that helps to clarify.
Yeah, perfect. My next question, and just I have 3 or 4, is on table 4. And again, it was just something that kind of popped off the page to me. When I looked at the activity July through November for the firms, not necessarily the individuals, it looked like it wasn't, you know, I was otherwise expecting the stats to be about half of what a full year might be, but then I was looking at the subtotal for the firms didn't quite look like it was tracking, and I was wondering if there was something afoot going on with the firm licensing.
Hi, Mr. Smith. This is Jennifer Huddy. So I just want to ask a clarifying question. Are you referring to the number of issuances versus received applications over this period?
I think, yeah, I love being called Mr. Smith, so keep doing that. I love it. I guess, yeah, to clarify, if I look at the number issued for the period ended November 24, there were 83, and I look at a year ago, and we had issued 318 for the entire year, if I'm reading that correctly. And so I was going, oh, well, maybe it's seasonal and maybe these things don't come in until later, or is there just been a drop off in firms applying for licensure?
So at this point, what I'm seeing is that we have about 60 corporation applications that have been received over this July through November period that are outstanding with deficiencies. So there's a number of deficiencies that they might have, including articles of incorporation from the Secretary of State, or maybe they didn't get their bylaws to us. I suspect that this is most likely a deficiency problem that we're having. It's hard to say whether that's a trend that applies to a season at this point.
Okay. Fantastic. My next question's on table 5, and I am getting to the end. I completely forgot that in looking at this table that we still have the public accountant license. And if I'm reading the stats or the tables, we're down to just a handful of people. Is there some sort of sunsetting provision just to do away with that license in the very near term?
You can no longer receive that designation as a PA, but they are in essence grandfathered in. So we will continue to report out on that row of data.
Yep.
We In some cases, you'll see that, you know, we've kind of incorporated them within the CPA count in some of the reports that we do, and we just footnote it because at this time, you know, we have, you know, 1 or 2 in total.
Okay, perfect. And my very last question is on table 6. And I just found it curious that so far when I look at the activity through November, no referrals of anything over to enforcement. Again, is that just timing and that will start to happen, or, you know, or is there something else going on there?
There's nothing else going on there. We do try to, within the licensing division, allow for individuals to correct things that can be corrected prior to referring that over to enforcement. So you might just be seeing kind of a lag there right now as we conduct that process.
Okay, that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any other questions or comments from members? Okay, hearing none, we'll open it up to public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Q&A panel is now open. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, or simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no request for comment at this time. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator. Ms. Huddy, would you like to continue with item 4B, Report on Qualifications Committee Subcommittee Meetings?
Thank you, Chair Williams. The purpose of this agenda item is to provide an update to the QC on subcommittee activities that have taken place since the October 2023 QC meeting. Since the October 2023 public meeting, the QC held 3 virtual subcommittee meetings to review work papers of attest experience. 6 reviews were conducted pursuant to California Code of Regulations, Section 69, specifically for the following 2 reasons. Satisfactorily answered certificate of experience submitted to the CPA, but the period of experience appears to be unduly short, and the failure or refusal by any licensee to complete and submit a certification of experience. 3 applicants were recommended for approval of a CPA license. 2 applicants were recommended for deferral. 1 employer was instructed to submit certificates of attest experience. 2 applicants made personal appearances with attest experience obtained outside the United States. Both were recommended for approval of a CPA license. This concludes my report. At this time, I'll turn it back over to Chair Williams, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Huddy. Do I have any comments or questions from members? Hearing none, moderator, please open up for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, or simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no request for comment. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator, and thank you, Ms. Huddy. Next up are item 4C, update on changes to the uniform CPA examination, presented by Jennifer Jackson.
Good morning, Chair Williams and members of the QC. I am Jen Jackson, one of 2 coordinators in the examination unit. I'm here today to provide you with an update regarding the recent changes made to the uniform CPA examination, which I will refer to as CPA exam, and to provide details regarding our recent CPA exam credit extensions. The CPA exam has undergone changes that launched earlier this month on January 10th. These changes, which we refer to as CPA evolution, have transformed the overall model of the CPA exam. Technology, client needs, and business needs have changed, which meant the CPA exam needed to change to stay relevant. To do so, changes have been made to the CPA exam structure and content, which now incorporate additional subjects and skills. The CPA exam will continue to test candidates' core competencies, including accounting, auditing, and tax, with technology embedded within each of these. However, as part of the CPA evolution, the significant change is that Business Environment and Concepts, BEC, is no longer offered. It has been replaced with the requirement of selecting one of 3 disciplines in which the candidate will demonstrate more in-depth knowledge. These new disciplines reflect 3 pillars of the CPA profession. 1, Business and Analysis and Reporting, or BAR, Information Systems and Controls, or ISC, and Tax Compliance and Planning, or TCP. And regardless of which discipline a candidate may choose, there will still only be 1 CPA license. A candidate's chosen discipline does not mean their CPA license will limit them to that practice area. Next, I'd like to discuss exam credit extensions. To better assist our California candidates in the transition to the new version of the CPA exam under CPA evolution, and in response to the significant health, economic, education, and travel disruptions resulting in CPA exam candidate hardships over the past several years, the California Board of Accountancy approved a series of credit extensions for the CPA exam. 1, all exams that expired between January 30th of 2020 and December 31st of 2023 are once again valid and were extended to June 30th of 2025. The second is that all unexpired exam credits valid on December 31st of 2023 were also extended to June 30th of 2025. And with our new regulations, all new exam credits earned beginning in January of 2024 will be valid for 30 months, replacing the previous conditional credit timeframe of 18 months. Candidates do not need to take action to take advantage of these extensions. It is the CBA's goal that these extensions will provide a renewed opportunity for candidates to pass all 4 sections of the CPA exam and give them a longer period to do so, ultimately allowing them to follow through with their aspirations of becoming a CPA. That concludes my presentation, and I'll turn the discussions back over to Chair Williams, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. I would like to open it up for any comments or questions from the members. So, Ms. Jackson, I have a question. I guess we'll be tracking, for the second item you spoke of, we'll be tracking how that plays out and what percentage of people become licensed based on the extension.
I apologize. We are tracking, as a result, 45 applicants as a result of these extensions are now considered have passed all 4 sections of the exam. And in the communication, staff reached out to each one of them individually. They were asked if they were planning to pursue their license. And I believe we had 38 of the candidates did say yes, they will pursue as a result of this extension. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I'm just curious, and maybe going forward we'll ask again just to see if you know the candidates are taking advantage of this and what the progress is. Any other member questions or comments before I open up for public?
Hey, Michael, it's Chris. I have a question or two. I'm just, Jennifer, as I was listening to you, first off, what happens to the candidates who are midstream and for instance, happen to have taken and passed BEC? Is that just now thrown away, or is there any go forward credit they get for having passed it?
So you're saying if a candidate previously passed the BEC section, what happens to that credit now that we're?
Yeah.
that BEC is no longer, their credit will carry over. If they had credit going into this, their expiration dates will remain the same. Plus the extensions that we just offered, they will not lose their BEC credit. If their credit in 2025 it expires and the BEC is no longer offered, they would then be required to take one of the 3 disciplines if their BEC expires in the future.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm sorry on this question. So did tax get baked into, there's a core section on tax? Is that where that went to? So I know when you said the 3 disciplines, and I've read about it, nothing particularly there deals with tax per se, but is there a discipline, or I'm sorry, a core section that is focused on taxes?
There's still the core sections, the accounting, auditing, and tax.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, okay. And then on top of that, the BEC, the 4th section, is replaced with the discipline, which is the breakout of 3.
Okay, fantastic. And my very last question, and if it was in any of these stats, I missed it, and I apologize, but did we see changes in the number of applications coming in the latter half of 23? Were people trying to beat the change, or were they waiting for the change, or are there any of those stats that you've looked at?
I don't have stats in front of me, but there was a significant increase in the amount of applications that we received towards the black off cutoff dates.
So, Chris, this is Michelle Center. The last time we checked, I believe it was a 10% increase. It may have gone up even more after that, but that was the last time we did check.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. So I will now open it up to public comment. Any questions or comments for Ms. Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel, and if any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using that field, or you may raise your hand. And I do see that we have a John Stoller that would like to comment. Just a reminder that you'll have a 5-minute limit. I'll give you a 30-second warning. And John Stoller, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Experience requirement. So it might be a better time to discuss that. Not currently under, it's not pertaining to the CPA evolution.
So for this meeting, these questions, or we need to put this on to the agenda for the next meeting. But I think, and I'm going to defer to Michelle Center with the CBA on what the protocol is for this type of question regarding experience requirements.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Williams. Normally that public comment would have been received under item 1, which is items not on the agenda. We have already taken item 1, but at the discretion of the chair, we could reopen item 1 after we've done the rest of the items if we want to allow this member of the public to comment on something that's not on the agenda. And I do want to clarify that that just because someone does comment on something not on the agenda, that does not mean it will be on a future agenda. And we as staff and also committee members, we cannot comment on items that are not on the agenda because it is not public notice. But I think if you would like to revisit item 1 and open it back up at the end of this meeting, that is at your discretion.
Individual in the public to open up that at the end of this, at the end of the agenda. And so, Michelle, if you can help me on that, but I guess I would just reopen the first item and then for public comment, and then allow the gentleman to comment. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would do it after we complete everything
Yes.
in
Yes.
item 4.
Correct.
Yes.
Great. Okay. And so I will, if you're willing to wait until just a little bit when we finish the rest of these agenda items, then we can open it up for public comment.
And this is the moderator. I see no further requests for comment, so I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. So now we will go to agenda items for D and E, and they will be presented by Melanie Murphy. Ms. Murphy, please.
Thank you, Chair Williams. My name is Melanie Murphy, and I am a coordinator in the initial licensing unit. The purpose of these agenda items is to provide the QC an overview of the long-term licensing data trends that may be useful when considering the pipeline of future California CPAs. I'm going to start with item 4D, which includes data derived from staff from historical CBA licensing activity reports, NASBA's annual and quarterly CPA exam data reports, and CBA's internal licensing databases. Turning to page 2 and 3 of item 4D, you can see the CBA has experienced fluctuations in the number of the first-time and repeat CPA exam applications received and approved. As shown in graph 1 and 2, there is a notable increase in first-time applications for 2022-2023, which is likely attributed to applicants attempting to pass all 4 sections of the CPA exam prior to the implementation of the CPA evolution. Graphs 3 and 4 on page 4 illustrates a steady decline in the first-time test takers and those who have passed the CPA exam in California and across all jurisdictions. This information should be kept in mind along with other information when considering if indicators forecast a future CPA population sufficient to meet the needs of consumers. Moving to graphs 5 on page 5, the number of CPA license application has declined steadily since 2020 and 2021, reaching a 10-year low in 2022 and 2023. The number of applications received may spike in the coming fiscal years as exam applicants pass the CPA exam and apply for licensure. Graphs 6 and 7 on page 6 illustrate Accountancy Corporation and Accountancy Partnership applications received and approved. The number of applications received and approved spiked for both corporations and partnerships in 2018 to 2019, and then leveled out beginning 2020-2021. The decrease in applications shown in 2019 to 2020 may be attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic. Moving to page 7 on table 1 provides the estimated number of new CPA licensees. Of the 2,868 new CPA licensees in 2022 to 2023, only 243 were previously licensed. 2,625 of the applicants were applying for their CPA license for the first time. The CPA population has grown by almost 13,000 since 2019 to 2020. Graph 8 on page 8 represents the current CPA population. This includes active, inactive, delinquent, and retired CPAs. Table 2 on page 9 provides the number of CPAs in each status. As of June 30th, 2023, 62% of the CPA population is in active status. Of the 62% of active licensees, 56% hold a license with a test authority. Approximately 7% of CPAs reside outside the state, and 1% reside outside of the country. Graph 9 on page 10 represents the accountancy firm population. This includes active and delinquent firms. As of June 30th, 2023, corporations made up 77% of the total firm population. Table 3 at the bottom of page 10 and Table 4 at the top of page 11 provides age demographic information for CPAs. The average age of a newly licensed CPA applicant is 30, while a majority of California CPAs are aged 49 or younger. The median age of California CPA is 48. That concludes my presentation on item 4D. I'm now going to turn it back over to Chair Williams, and I will do my best to answer any questions member may have. If there are no questions, I will proceed to item 4E.
I will open it up to any questions or comments from members.
Mr. Chair, I had a question.
Yes, Mr. Smith?
It wasn't me. I was holding off. That was someone else.
That was me, Michael.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I noticed on page 8, the last paragraph says that 56% hold a license with attest authority. And I'm jumping back to Jennifer Huddy's presentation about the initial licensing statistics. And bear with me. Table 4 in the initial licensing statistics shows that about 25% of the new licensees are coming in with an attest license. Does that, am I inferring right that essentially our total population of certified public accountants in the state have an attest license, but the new people coming in are more likely to get the G license and wouldn't be able to, I guess, serve that population, so to speak, of CPA, like serve the population to be able to do audits in the future and perform audits and work for CPA firms, and then, I mean, at some point work for maybe industries that want to hire folks that have attest experience. I guess my question is, am I inferring that correctly?
This is Michelle Center. I'll go ahead and attempt to answer that. I think when you look at the statistics that you just mentioned, which is the difference between the population and the initial applications that we're receiving, we need to keep in mind that at one point in time, we did not have two different authority levels. We did not have the A versus G experience difference. And so all of our licensees that were getting licensed had a test authority. So I think we need to keep that in mind as we look at those, but we also have that indicator that you mentioned, which is a relatively low percentage of our applications that we're receiving now are requesting a test authority.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. And I am going to open it up for public comment after Ms. Murphy discusses or presents 4E, and then I'll open it up to public comment for both 4D and 4E.
Hey, Michael, could I jump in just before you yield the floor back? I do have comments or a question.
Okay.
That's all right. I guess my first off, this information is fascinating. It really is. I was trying to think, how does it apply to this subcommittee, or, of course it doesn't. And then just an observation, I kept going back to the consumer protection objectives that are stated here. And, it keeps saying CBA's objective is to make sure only qualified individuals get through to serve the public interest. And some of this data, and I think some of the stuff that's coming up next, I think is talking to the pipeline issues. So are there enough people coming through? And then maybe some of this information is speaking to, do we have enough? So not only are there enough people coming into the profession, but do we have enough CPAs, with a focus on California? And I guess as I was starting to think about that, one, I personally kept stumbling over the word and the objective about that we ensure that only qualified individuals are approved. And that to me is almost like we're focused on the standards to be qualified, not necessarily the volume of who gets qualified, but maybe that's more for the board, and maybe I'm just looking too closely at the words, but I just found that curious. And the other thing tied to that is after I looked at all these stats and just sat back, when I got to graph 8, which shows basically there's 100,000 CPAs in the state of California. That's the supply side, so we have 100,000 and that's grown. If I were to just look at graph 8, it's grown over the last 10 years from 87,000 to 100,000. But is someone looking at the demand side? Is that, I personally, I couldn't tell, do we need, is 100,000 sufficient? Is the state, do we need 130,000, 200,000? Is there some entity, whether it's the CBA or Cal CBA, trying to figure out what's the demand side? And maybe that's my first, after rambling on all that, my first question is, all right, so we have 100,000 licensed, 65,000 active. What is there here's how many we're short estimate?
I don't think that I think the staff may be able to, but I think that's more of the CBA. These are questions for the CBA, especially with the mission statement. I don't know if, the staff probably can refer you on these, but Michelle, can you address
Sure.
this?
Sure, Michelle Center. Wow, that was a lot. So let me go through it a little bit. So first off, it is true that we sometimes present items that maybe aren't directly related to your role. And we do that because as a benefit of being a committee member, we want to make sure that you are informed of the different topics that our board is considering and that are relevant to the profession. So that is done really as a benefit of you, and we appreciate any comments and insight you might provide to us on those. And I would put several of our items from this particular meeting in that category. And I do hope that people do appreciate that. One of the benefits of being on the committee is getting that type of information presented. I think that there is kind of this question of whether or not the pipeline does relate to consumer protection. I think that's one of the kind of comments that was made more eloquently by you than by me just now. But I think that, as Melanie mentioned, at a certain point in time, the pipeline may impact consumer protection if we don't have enough individuals to serve the public. And so that at that point may kind of dive into that particular area. The board is very interested in the pipeline. This is a report that we have been asked to provide to the board now on an annual basis as they look at the pipeline and different initiatives that may come before them. In terms of your last comment, which was about the demand, the information that we have regarding the demand is going to be covered in the next item, and it's really information that we receive from the AICPA that gathers information from firms on their hiring needs.
Yeah.
And so that's the, I guess, the demand side in terms of the stats we have available to us.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was all great, and I guess that's kind of where I thought we would get to for this, understanding what the confines of this committee are about. I guess it's just something as, it's almost like whack-a-mole, as others are trying to figure out how to fill the pipeline more fully or keep more people in the profession or whatever. We would just have to continue to, I guess, be mindful or be the guardrail for softening in any way of what we consider qualifications, unless there's a dictate from the CBA to say, we've changed qualifications. So it's that, I would just say it's maybe we just need to be vigilant for. And then just now for something completely different. I was curious about this, and despite my youthful appearance, I'm a little bit older than what I look like. I was fascinated by table 3 and just a comment. So the average age of a first-time previously unlicensed CPA is held steady at about 30, age 30 for the last 5 years. And I was just curious. I was thinking back on this. So if someone is, I go from A to B, they would graduate from university with the 120 or 150 hours, whatever it may be, let's say 22, 23. And then maybe they need 2 years of experience. So let's say topside, that gets them to about 25, just if someone's going the normal route. So I was just wondering, I was thinking about the fact that I was thinking that we might see the first time previously unlicensed CPA be mid to late mid 20s versus 30. I just don't know if that's more of an observation or if does anyone dig into that information and try to explain the 30?
Chair Williams, this is Michelle, if you want me to respond.
Yes, please, Michelle.
We did not dig into that. I would say it was noted. I think that looking at the age is something that we haven't done before. This is, I think, the first time we've looked at it. It was an interesting statistic, and I think we want to continue to monitor it as we go forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. So I would like for Ms. Murphy to present 4E, and then we will open it up for public comment as well as member comment after that.
Thank you, Chair Williams. Item 4E covers the 2023 AI CPA report on the following national pipeline-related trends. Accounting graduates trended downward in the 2021 to 2022 academic year with a decrease of 7.8% and 6.4% at the bachelor's and master's levels, respectively. Of firms that hired one or more accounting graduates in 2021, 91% expected to hire the same number or more in 2023 as compared with 2021. 60% of all U.S. CPA firms expect to have the same number or more CPAs on staff in 2023 in comparison with 2022. The number of CPA exam candidates in 2023 increased compared to 2022. This may be due to applicants anticipating the launch of the new CPA exam in January of 2024. 2022 saw the lowest number of new CPA exam candidates compared to the prior 16 years. That concludes my presentation. I will now turn it over to Chair Williams, and I'm happy to answer any questions members may have.
Thank you. Before opening for public comment, are there any comments or questions from members? Hearing none, I'd like to open it up for public comment. Moderator?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda items 4D or E, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen or simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no request for comment at this time. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator. And Chris, just a couple of your comments or questions. The CBA board meetings, they discuss this type of what's in the pipeline, how to increase CPAs in the state of California, things like that nature. So for us, I think a lot of the things that are presented here are reporting just to keep us up to date on what's happening as members of the advisory committee. But going to these CBA meetings, like I'll be attending tomorrow, very informative, and a lot of these questions you asked, they address those. So I would recommend anyone interested in what goes on outside of the QC committee attend these meetings. So next, I'd like to go to agenda item 4F, and it's being presented by Melissa.
I'll go ahead. Chair Williams, we do not have item F today. We are going to go ahead and put that on a future agenda.
Oh, that's right. We are going to defer that, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Okay, so since we are going to defer that, do I don't ask for any comment. Obviously, there's nothing to comment on, correct? So.
If there are any members, then we probably should go ahead and go through the comment process just to.
Okay. So we are deferring this agenda item, and let me see. So this agenda item was the review and approval of proposed changes to the California Board of Accountancy Qualifications Committee Procedure Manual. There is nothing to present today that will be deferred, but do I have any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, I believe we can open it up to public comment, moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator. So I believe now, Michelle, is the time to open up for public comments on items not on the agenda before we do closing business. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so going to open up agenda item 1, public comments for items not on the agenda. Are there any comments? Well, first I'll start with any comments from members. And hearing none, we'll open it up to public comments. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. I do see a raised hand from John Stoller. John, you'll have 5 minutes. I'll give you a 30-second warning. And John, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. So I'm an experienced CPA candidate. I've passed the exams. I've taken my master's. I have all the credits. But what's been challenging for me is getting the CPA direct supervisor experience because I'm primarily an industry accountant. And I do not have a lot of interest in working in the private accounting world, but I do think it is valuable for there to be CPAs in industry. So I know a lot of this is without the board's purview and ability to change the business code, but I do hope that there would be some consideration in the future for the CBA to accept the NASBA CPA verification service. Many states do this, and I've actually done this, where a qualified CPA interviews a candidate, looks at their history, and grants them meeting the standards to become a qualified CPA based on their industry experience. And then another thing that needs to be addressed is working for a supervisor that maintains an inactive license, because many CPAs in industry do not maintain their license status. And this was my situation where I worked for a CPA in industry, and I thought I would be good to go to meet the experience requirement, later to find out that he didn't maintain his CPE for that year. So he was unable to sign off on my experience verification. So just wanted to share, many board members may not know that there are older candidates who are very qualified to become CPAs, but have not gone through the traditional path of working for a public firm to get that direct CPA supervisor sign off. I don't see how a candidate, it's worked many decades in industry working with auditors, stakeholders, state regulators, is less qualified than a 23-year-old who's done auditing cash for a year. Thank you for listening to my comments.
Thank you for your comments. Moderator, are there any other public comments?
No, there are not. I return the floor back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. And then Michelle, what are the next steps regarding the comments?
We cannot discuss the comment because it is not agendized, but staff have made note of it. And we But I believe we already have contact information for this individual. So we are happy to reach out to him following the meeting.
Excellent. Thank you. Moderator, you can close out.
Close out the meeting.
No, sorry, for public comment, which I believe you did. Okay, so
Yes.
yes, so we are on agenda item 5, closing business, and then 5A is agenda items for future qualifications committee meetings. Do I open this up for member comment and then public comment?
Yes.
Okay, so agenda items for future qualifications committee meetings. Do any of the members would like to have any comments or questions? Hearing none, I will open up for public comment. Moderator, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on future agenda items, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, or simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. But before adjourning, I just wanted to again welcome the new vice chair and the new liaison. And I also want to thank staff that help put this together and all the work they do. I really appreciate it, and I thank you guys for your efforts. And now the meeting is adjourned.